In the metals quadrant, taking a look at the December gold contract, which finished with some slight weakness. It was pretty much down all day, just not down a lot. On the high side of things, up 19 basis points. On the highs, 18, 1750 was that high, falling down below 1800 on the lows, almost getting to down 1%, down 82 basis points to be exact at 1799.70, then getting back above 1800 to close down about a third of 1% at about 1807 and change. Now, gold continues sideways, but it has a slightly downward trajectory. If you look at a chart, we're down 3 of the last 6 days, but those 6 days really has a downward sloping channel around it. It's a clear down channel. On the contrary, the weekly chart still has a slight up tilt, up 4 of the last 7 weeks, and that's on a very clear up move on the weekly. So not a trade does one day make. Looking at the yield curve, which had a lot to do with what happened in gold today, yields actually went back up. They fell this morning, then rallied back up again, doing a similar trajectory of yesterday, but not as much of a dip prior to Fed Vice Chair Richard Claridge's speech. But we had the Bank of England today saying that they were getting ready to curb asset purchases, although they would potentially let treasuries rise a little bit more before that happened. And if you've got rising yields, you've got an inflation hedge built into those rising yields, and it brings about a little bit less demand for gold. But the curve is flattening, not steepening. So with the curve flattening, that kind of points to a little bit weaker of a global economy. So these are all data points in a very short data set, but it seemed to affect gold in the short term today with some profit taking that we saw as the day went on. Now, the dollar was lower today, but it came off its lows, still positive on the week and finishing just below the flat line. It was up versus the yen. The pound was up versus the dollar, and we were basically unchanged versus the euro. So the dollar only had a little bit of an early effect on precious metals and their movement today.